government's conditional cash transfer program is on track. Under the supervision of the Department of Social Welfare and Development, the results of the impact study of the World Bank shows the program is making significant progress in poverty reduction campaign of the government. And joining us tonight on NewsLife is Ms. Rodora Babaran, the National Manager of the Pantawid Pamilyang Program of the government. Good evening, ma'am, and welcome to NewsLife.
Good evening, Robert, and good evening to our televiewers.
Ma'am, can you just give us a brief summary of the gains of the program in education and health? And are there more children enrolling and attending school?
Essentially, what we found in the impact evaluation of the program, this is the first of three waves, is that the Pantawid Pamilyang Program is on track. So meaning among those beneficiaries that were covered by the program, there were higher enrollment rates for beneficiaries. There were longer attendance periods for these children. A lot more children are themselves of health services, and mothers are getting more pre- and postnatal care.
Ma'am, how many families are part of this program?
Right now, we're already covering 3.8 million households.
And based on the study, ma'am, how many children are benefiting from the program? And are they also provided with health care?
Actually, by now, we've already covered more than 9 million children. Yes.
So, with regards to health care for pregnant mothers, is there an investment also from government working to ensure that they give the best health care to them?
Yes, and that's actually one of the conditionalities of the program. If there is a pregnant woman, member of the household, they are supposed to regularly visit their doctors or health centers to make sure that they are afforded the pre- and postnatal care necessary.
How are these families being monitored? You said at least 3.2 million people are part of this program. How is this being monitored, and how are we monitoring that the children are going to school and that their health is getting better?
We have an IT-enabled compliance verification system. We have a lot of people on the ground doing verification. We are partnered with Department of Education, Department of Health, and even our local government units. Every 2 months, we would collect the compliance verification forms from these partners. Our people would collect these forms and encode in our encoding centers, and this would be fed into our national database. We process this. We would check who are compliant and who are not, and then this will be the basis for their payment of grants.
And overall, ma'am, is the national targeting system working to ensure the list of beneficiaries are really poor? And has the DSWD been pressured by politicians to include their constituents? And how do you determine who will be part of this program?
Essentially, all systems really are not perfect. So our national household targeting system may have some difficulties in terms of ensuring that only the poor are included in the program. But nonetheless, the list that we were able to generate for the program ensured that only the poor are included in the Pantawid, because we have layers upon layers of verification to make sure that they are indeed the eligible ones. There are reported cases that some politicians are influencing our people to have their own people or their identified poor included in the program. But the best they can do is just to write us and give us names of these people that they are recommending. But in the end, we are still the ones identifying, validating if these people are indeed eligible for the program.
Now, how do you determine which areas get the highest priority for the program?
When we started the program back in 2008, we followed this prioritization using the poverty incidence of the areas. We have the geographic targeting. We follow the poverty incidence as provided in the National Statistical Coordination Board. So back then, we selected the 20 poorest provinces. But as we started to roll out in 2009 onwards, we follow the poverty rankings of the rest of the other provinces and municipalities. So depending on the budget allocated to us, we would roll out according to what the budget can accommodate from this poverty ranking of municipalities and provinces.
Now, looking at the numbers of those of this program, at least 3.2 million and about 300,000 households, how do you determine if a family beneficiary is not complying or complying? And what happens if they don't comply to the program?
It is our health partners and education partners that tell us if the children are regularly attending school. Because remember, every month the children must ensure 85% attendance. And it's also the midwives or the nurses in the health centers that tell us if the mothers or the children are not seeing them regularly on a monthly basis. So once we collect this information, we enter that into the system, and that serves as a basis for their grants. So for those that did not comply to the conditions, there is a deduction in their grants. That sort of penalizes those that do not comply with the conditions.
Ma'am, do you have data on what percentage of those part of the program who are actually benefiting right now, or those who are complying, and against those who are not complying?
We are happy to share with you that in all the conditions I enumerated a while ago, the compliance rate does not go any lower than 95%.
When is the first batch of beneficiaries completing the program? And after this, what happens to them?
Well, the first batch of beneficiaries are supposed to have their last year for 2013. So this is the last time they'll be getting their grants until December of 2013. And by then, we're hoping that they'll be ready to access other services and not rely on the CCT anymore. As early as the third year of program implementation, their exposure into the program, we've already introduced them to sustainable livelihood intervention. So we gave them training. If they are entrepreneurial enough, we would afford them some capital assistance. If they have some employable skills, we would connect them to organizations or agencies that provide employment. So we enter into a lot of partnerships to make sure that these beneficiaries would be given access to these kinds of employment or livelihood opportunities as early as the third year.
Talking about the different partnerships that this program has, besides the CCT program and what's being done by the DSWD, are there other agencies helping to ensure that all this, it will be sustainable, and those part of the program who will be done after the 5 years will actually have a livelihood program to at least be sustainable after this?
Well, right from the beginning, we had no illusions that the CCT alone would be able to lift these poor households out of poverty. So as early as 2010, we've been intensifying our efforts to converge with our fellow government agencies, line agencies, civil society organizations, the private sector. We made an effort to give them opportunities, the beneficiaries, give them opportunities to have this livelihood and employment opportunities. For instance, the DPWH has allocated 20% of their labor requirement for Pantawid Pamilyang beneficiaries. So in terms of the declogging, the road works, 20% of the labor force requirement are allocated for Pantawid.
And a final word, ma'am, from you. Overall, is the program working as a centerpiece program for the Aquino administration in poverty reduction?
This is by far the largest social program the Philippines has ever invested in. And so far, with the results of the impact evaluation that we have just publicly shared this morning, it appears that the program is on track and we are making headway in terms of achieving the goals set by the program. So we are keeping children in school and we are also keeping them healthy.
Okay, on that note, thank you very much for joining us tonight. That was Ms. Rodora Babaran, the National Manager of the CCT program of the government. Thank you, ma'am.